Bet horse racing on DRF Bets. We'll match your first deposit of $200. Get free expert picks and past performances, plus weekly cash back. All from Daily Racing Form, the most trusted name in horse racing. Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Mike Beer. Welcome to Breeders' Cup Focus. In this edition, we're going to take a look at the top contenders for the Breeders' Cup Mile. Pre-entries are out, which means Breeders' Cup pre-entry past performances are available at DRF.com. Post positions for the mile and all the Breeders' Cup races will be drawn this coming Monday. Let's take a look at the top 10 contenders for the Breeders' Cup Mile as ranked in preliminary morning line odds order. The morning line created by Brad Free. Modern Games, 3-1 morning line favorite. Pretty nice resume, Mike. Winner of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf last year. Winner of the French 1,000 Guineas. Winner of the Woodbine Mile. And gave a good effort in this race, the Queen Elizabeth II last time out at Ascot.
Yeah, he did give a good effort here. He's going to get wind up finishing second best to a long shot in this race. I guess he probably ran close to his best race here, Dan. He's just not quite good enough at the end. Boy, was he impressive 2 starts back, though. His second four-way over here to North America in the Woodbine Mile. He ran a huge race in fast time that day. We know he can ship. We know he's talented. I guess there's a lot to like about this horse.
He has every chance, as we see here in the Queen Elizabeth II, contested over good to soft ground. He isn't able to get to Bayside Boy, who was pre-entered in the Breeders' Cup Mile, but it looks like he's not going to compete in this race. Modern Games just looks built for North American racing. He has the strong leg kick of most Europeans, and he ran well in both starts in North America. Obviously, he's the horse to beat, but he's not by any stretch of the imagination the only contender in this race. I want to talk a little bit about Kinross, Mike, because distance might be a little bit of a question mark.
I mean, it could be. They've mostly kept to sprinting with this horse, but man, is he going to ship over here in very strong form. 4 wins in a row, a couple of Group 1s in there. This horse has just really gotten good. And, you know, as opposed to some of the stateside-based sprinters, when they stretch out, I think you want to be a little wary. I'm not as concerned with horses like this when they stretch out to a mile. This horse is good up to 7 furlongs. I think he can get the 8.
He has won at a mile over a synthetic track early in his career in 2020. He's done very good work, a Group 1 winner at 7/8. Here's his last race. They cut him back to a sharp 3/4 in the British Champions Sprint, and he's just very strong at the end of this race, Mike. He finishes off well under Frankie Dettori.
Yeah, he really does. He comes with a big finish here. This is a very strong performance for this horse, and you know it was dropping back to 6. And so he doesn't have the benefit of shipping over here off of a bunch of 7 furlong races. But man, he's just in such good form right now.
Trainer Chad Brown has beaten the boys in the mile with a talented mare. I believe Uni did the trick a couple of years ago. He's sending Regal Glory out 5-1 on Brad's morning line. Regal Glory has earned triple-digit buyer speed figures in 6 of her last 7 starts. Runner-up in her last 2 races, including this effort, the Grade 1 First Lady, where she was wired by the extremely sharp In Italian, who will be contesting the filly and mare turf.
Yeah, I'm Regal Glory's biggest fan. She's a really, really nice horse. Is also in very good form heading into this race. She's lost her last 2 starts, Dan. I don't think you're going to, see big excuses for her in either of those losses. She did get wired here, but she, ran well in her own right. Really, really nice horse. I think it'll be tough for her to beat some of these horses she's going to face at the Breeders' Cup, though.
She was beaten by males in the 4-star Dave 2 starts back by Casa Creed, a very nice horse who would be a big price in this race. Wasn't last time the time for Annapolis, a 3-year-old in the Coolmore Turf Mile, facing a bunch of older horses that had a lot of question marks, and it helps when you get a perfect trip.
He did get a perfect trip. It was a very good spot for him, but he was also a 3-year-old and a relatively lightly raced one, too, stepping up for the toughest test of his life. And he came through with flying colors, Dan. I don't think we've seen the best race from Annapolis yet. I think there's more upside here. He's really talented. I don't think he's in over his head at all.
Smooth Like Straight is 5th on our list. We'll take a look at 6 through 10 while talking a little bit about Smooth Like Straight, who is as honest as the day is long. He runs fast race after fast race. He just rarely wins. He missed his prep. I believe he had a cut leg, which forced him out of his final prep race. He's coming into this race fresh, and I guess his speed always makes him somewhat dangerous.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dan. I mean, this is the kind of horse who, what you see on paper is what you get. He shows up every time. There are no bad performances on his card, and his speed always gives him a chance. He just doesn't win that often.
Let's talk a little bit about perhaps the most intriguing horse in this race, and that is Domestic Spending, who is one of the best turf horses in North America in 2021. This would be a DeHaas level layoff that he's coming off of for Chad Brown. We know he has the talent to win. I have no idea what form he's going to bring in. He hasn't raced since August of 2021.
Yeah, and that was a sort of a disappointing loss there the last time we saw him in the Mr. D at Arlington. He did get wired by a horse on a slow pace that day. I feel like, if nothing else, if these connections are going to bring him back and, in fact, run him on Breeders' Cup Day, I think you kind of know what you're going to get. You're probably going to get a pretty good performance. I don't think they're going to send him out there, Dan, and let him embarrass himself. This is a supremely talented turf horse with a huge finishing kick, and if he can come back and somehow, I think it's hard to have a ton of confidence in him, but if he can somehow come back and run close to his best race, he's a very dangerous horse.
Perhaps Order of Australia and Ivar, horses for courses. They finished third and second respectively behind Annapolis in the Coolmore Turf Mile. Order of Australia won the Breeders' Cup Turf Mile in a shocker at Keeneland a couple of years ago. Now, last time out, he just basically followed Annapolis all the way around the track and gave an even run.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he did pull off the big upset over this turf course, so I guess you got to always keep that in the back of your mind. I'm a big Ivar fan. He's another one of those horses who, is he a cup below the top turf horses? He probably is, but he's a really nice horse.
Let's talk about a couple of others in here. Dream Loper and Pogo. They are coming in from overseas. Dream Loper won the Group 1 Prix du Moulin, a very important 1 mile race in France. That race was over good to soft going. He pounded Order of Australia that day. She did.
Yeah, he did. She did. She's a multiple Group 1 winner this year. I don't know, how much, how high you want to get on her for beating Order of Australia, but as you pointed out, she did beat him pretty handily.
And Pogo is a veteran who just won a Group 2 going 7/8 of a mile. I think there are always class issues for a horse like this who just shows up every time in these Group 2s and Group 3s and continues to make money, but this will be the toughest spot of his life.
Another horse who's, been mostly concentrating on, slightly shorter races this year, but he's traded a couple of decisions with Kinross, and Kinross is a really, really good horse.
Let's talk a little bit more about Domestic Spending real quick, Mike. Were you disappointed with the Mr. D last time out? I know it was a year and a half ago. He was kind of wired on a slow pace that day.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I guess it's not that hard of a race to make an excuse for. I was still disappointed that he didn't win. I know that, pace always makes the race, especially in those longer distance turf races. Sometimes I just don't, I don't care for the horse that beat him necessarily. So yeah, I was disappointed with that performance, but I wasn't disappointed with anything he did before that. He's a really, really good horse.
Modern Games brings a big resume into the Breeders' Cup Mile. Trainer Charlie Appleby having an immense last couple of seasons with his horses in North America. The mile should be a fun race. We'll see if Kinross can stretch out as well.